You're listening to Seek Travel Ride, a podcast all about taking incredible bike adventures. And if you love the conversations that you hear on the podcast, you can experience them live. Join me in London on May 14 and 15 for Beyond the Bike. It's going to be a special night of adventure cycling stories, bike adventure film screenings, and a live Q&A with a panel of previous podcast guests. Tickets are on sale now. They will sell out fast. So make sure to grab yours at the link in the podcast show notes in your podcast player app. And now, let's listen to today's episode.
The path just at some point starts getting steeper and steeper, and then the asphalt stops and it's like gravel and we have to push the bike. And I'm already like hearing some thunder in the mountains. At some point, we push the bikes up this like super steep gravel path. It was barely pushable. Cycling would be impossible. And then as we kind of like get up that part, then all hell breaks loose. Like the thunderstorm just hits and it starts pouring down rain. And there's thunder like really like close by us. And so we were like, okay, not a great situation.
Welcome to Seek Travel Ride, where we share the stories and experiences of people taking amazing adventures by bike. Whether it's crossing state borders, mountain ranges, countries or continents, we want to share that spirit of adventuring on two wheels with our listeners. Hello listeners, I'm your host Bella Malloy and I'm thrilled to bring you another exciting episode of Seek Travel Ride. Our guest for today is Jippe Witteveen. In 2024, Jippe set off from his home in Friesland, Netherlands, with a destination of the Middle East. This journey was taken with the intention of mixing his background in international relations with his passion for sustainable travel. He set off on this bike adventure, hoping to be able to uncover the common threads in our society which unite us all, and he called his mission Join the Cycle. It was a journey which he hoped would be an immersive experience, one that would highlight to him the history of the countries he was travelling through, while gaining cultural experiences with the people he would come across. All up, the journey would take Jippe all the way from the Netherlands to Iran, a distance of 8,000 kilometres. But something that isn't so easy to tally up are the countless memories that you gain when going out on these type of experiences, and it's what really has me excited about our conversation. So today I have the privilege of learning more about Jippe's bike adventure, hearing about the challenges he faced, as well as the profound connections made with those he met along the way. More importantly, now that he's returned back to the Netherlands and with the benefit of some time passing to reflect on this experience, what has he learnt the most with the insights gained from taking on such a journey? Jippe Witteveen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bella. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to be speaking with you, Jippe. I know we have been back and forth on the emails trying to figure out when to schedule you in. In fact, we scheduled you in and then I didn't schedule you in properly and we had to delay, but here we are now. All is to say I've got loads of questions for you, but the first one I have, and it's how I start my show and I ask it of all my guests, is Jippe Witteveen, do you remember the very first bike you ever rode?
Yeah, I do. So growing up in the Netherlands, it's very much a cycling culture. So we ride bicycles from a very young age. So I do remember there was this tiny little bicycle and it had like little circles on the frame as like a decoration. So I think that was my first like proper bike. Before that I would have these like three-wheelers that you can kind of walk. Yeah, I had that one. And I do remember also from a young age, I really wanted to be like independent. Like my mom used to ride me to school together with me. And so after I had done it a few times, I was like 4 years old. I told my mom, I can do it. I know the way. So then my mom was like, okay, you can go. And then she would ride behind me like 10 meters. And so I would have the feeling that I would be riding alone.
Oh, so you were wanting to take big grand adventures from that age as well.
I guess there was a part of me that, wanted that.
You were a bike explorer born in a bike country, like you said. Sometimes I wonder in the Netherlands at baby showers, do people give bikes? Like, do you notice it starkly when you go travel in other countries, just how much the bicycle is used in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I feel like it's a big difference because in the Netherlands, I mean, we have all the infrastructure. Also, it's flat, so that helps a lot. I do feel like here people just see it as a way of transport. In a lot of other countries, if you ride a bicycle, people are like, "Oh, you're doing exercise," and here that's not really in the consideration. Normally, people just use it to get places.
1,000,000% agree with you because, I mean, growing up in Australia, that's very much how it's seen. I always think there's a different lens. Like, as a kid growing up, riding a bike and seeing children riding bikes in Australia, it's just they're having fun. But if you see an adult riding a bike, in general, they're doing it for fitness or for sport,
Right.
maybe for mental health, right? But we don't have a huge cycle commuting culture. Apparently that's changing, slowly but surely, and it needs to
Yeah,
for our world.
yeah, I do think it's starting to change in more places. For example, Paris is making a lot of, yeah,
Brilliant.
whereas 10 years ago it had no bicycle infrastructure. So I think, yeah, these things are slowly changing.
I was in Paris, oh gosh, I haven't been there for a couple of years now. When I was in Paris there, it had been again a few years prior that I had been there. And just in that time, the bicycle infrastructure exploded. In fact, one of my best memories was we hired the Velib bikes, as most people and Parisians do, to get around. It's the best way to travel.
Are these like these shared bikes that you can,
Yeah, and they're at every station. In fact, the biggest mistake you can make is just assuming you'll find one at every station because they're so
right?
popular that they're often hired out.
Yeah,
And they have e-bike variants of it now
yeah.
as well, so it's pretty inclusive. But my best memory was cycling, and there was a road that we were on which used to be for cars that takes the cars under the Seine River, and it's like this big tunnel a few hundred meters long, and it's just bicycle infrastructure now.
That's great.
Love
Yeah.
it. Maybe taking a leaf out of the Dutch book there.
Yeah.
So, okay, early exploring as a kid aside, what about early adventures? Like, you're growing up in the Netherlands. What's your experience being in the outdoors like? Were you on outdoor holidays as a child with your parents? Were you more indoors? How did that play out?
I was just outside a lot because I grew up in a small town and we were basically next to the forest. So we were at the edge of the town. So we would always go for walks in the forest. So my parents, they would take us. And sometimes, because I have three siblings, so sometimes if we would get, too energetic playing inside, my mom would just kick us out. She'd be like, "Go play outside." So we would be on the streets, like on the street next to the house, like playing football or doing whatever. There was always a lot of being outside. And yeah, my parents, they also took us on holidays. We always went camping. Camping was part of it from a young age.
Did you like it? Like as an adult, I know you camped obviously on this tour, but did you like it? Like, do you like
I
camping?
do, yeah. I also did back then. I enjoyed going camping, but it's funny also. My parents, they took us on some bicycle holidays too, because my parents, they had done it also when they were younger. They would go on like cycling trips through the UK, and so when I was maybe 12, I think we did it for the first time, and because I'm the oldest, so all my siblings, they were younger.
Oh, you had to break the ground in your
Yeah,
family.
exactly.
You had to make it easier for your siblings to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
keep
the
going.
youngest one, she was, I think, 6. So then my parents were like, okay, now I guess she's old enough. We can go cycling for a holiday. So we rented the big van and drove it from our place down to the southern tip in Limburg. And then we cycled back home. So it took like 3 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. How amazing. So hang on. You rented the van, the family rented the
yeah,
van, drove it to the south, left the van there, and then rode home.
exactly. Yeah.
Can you get more Dutch?
Yeah, I don't know. At that time, yeah, me and my siblings, we kind of like, we wanted to do like all our friends that were going by car, like going to France, going to Italy, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go to another country, we didn't want to be riding bicycles. Looking back, it's great memories, and we had a lot of fun too, but we couldn't appreciate it that way back then.
Oh, it's funny, like looking at how much that's changed because I mean, you purposely took this tour, but slow travel in particular was something that's been that's obviously interested you because I noticed before you took this tour, you actually went and walked a section of the Camino to Santiago, didn't you?
True, yeah. At that time, I was living in Barcelona in Spain, and a friend of mine, he did the Camino. So then I joined him for a week. So just a small section. I joined him, and just yeah, had the greatest time. I really enjoyed that so much. So then last year I went back to another Camino from Porto to Santiago with another friend. So yeah, that was really nice. Yeah, actually, recently, this is like 2 weeks ago, I walked the length of Friesland, my province, because that's one of the starting points of the Camino. It starts in so many places across Europe, but there's one route that starts there. So,
Oh, that's awesome. There's a Camino route that goes through my village in the Pyrenees.
okay, right,
Yeah, so we often see the Camino hikers making their way.
yeah,
It's quite cool. I remember first discovering, from Australia before I moved to Europe, I just thought there was one route. I didn't
mm,
realize, but there's actually there's an arm of all these routes.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember once actually, Jippe, I was at Mont Saint Michel in the north of France, and I remember seeing someone who started his Camino there, and he part of his thing was he was actually carrying a really really heavy. I wouldn't even call it a rock. It felt like it was bigger than a rock, and he was going to be carrying that all the way. And I just thought, wow,
wow,
yeah. I mean, people do it for different reasons, I
yeah.
guess. But slow travel, then you really enjoy that type of travel.
I do, yeah, because I feel like, well, first of all, you get a really like appreciation for distance. Yeah, I feel like just driving well, I mean, flying somewhere, like you get dropped from one place into another place, and it's like a totally different world. But it's like a few hours, and you're there, and you almost don't feel like how far it is or what was there in between. So I first of all, I like to go overland, and but yeah, the slower you are, the more you notice. So it's yeah, walking you already notice more actually small things than cycling. So yeah, I really like that part. Like you connect with your surroundings, like the nature, and yeah.
Do you think I mean, you've done a few walks and you've just recently done another one there in Friesland. Are more through hikes the sort of thing that you're going to be seeking out, or do you think you'll take more bike adventures?
Yeah, I think I will do a mix of different things. So I like to just experience new things as well. I mean, I'll definitely go on another bike trip. Beforehand, I was like, oh, maybe I'll sell my bike in Iran. Then I will have done what I wanted to do. But then, obviously, you grow attached to your bike, so I had to take it home. And now I'm happy I have it here. I need to go on another trip for sure.
When you look at it, does it bring back memories just straight away?
The bike,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's just instant love when I see the bike. Like,
I don't normally talk about equipment, but what bike do you have? What was your bike that you used for this trip?
it's called Snell. I believe it's a Dutch brand. I'm not 100% sure. Expedition Snell. And I bought it actually secondhand of the sister of a friend of mine. This is the same friend that I walked the Camino with. His sister, yeah, she's also adventurous. Like she was in the Arctic and also cycled around Canada, stuff like that.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, her bike was a little bit too big for her, so she sold it. And then I was already talking about doing this trip. So my friend was like, "Hey, my sister's selling a bike. Are you interested?" So I had never searched for a bike yet. I just had this idea of this trip in my head, and then this bike came onto my path.
It was meant to
It was
be.
just right there. Yeah. So, but it was really like, yeah, secondhand, and it needed some fixing also. Yeah.
It needed a bit of fixing to be up for the challenge. I guess especially where you were going to be taking it.
Yeah.
Can I ask, had you done any bike travel in between like that journey when you're growing up as a kid to this trip? Like had you done any other bike travel in between?
Not so much. I mean, we went twice when I was young. I think I was 12, and then again when I was 14. And then since that, I haven't really traveled that kind of way until last December. So then I had just finished my studies, and I knew I was going to go on this big trip. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to England because it's right across the channel, and I actually live pretty close to the ferry terminal. So I had gone there. Also, I have a racing bike, so sometimes I would go like through the dunes, and I would reach the ferry terminal. And I'd never been to England, so I was like, but it's so close. Yeah. So then in December, I went there with this new bike that I had just bought for this trip, So yeah, I kind of thought to myself, if I can do England in December, then I'm pretty confident I can handle.
How did you go on that England in December trip?
It was really nice, actually. It's such a great memory when I think back about it. And I think I got lucky because the weather wasn't too bad. It wasn't really raining much, and also it wasn't too cold. They told me like 2 weeks earlier it'd been freezing. And even at that time I was already close to freezing in the night.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that was a good memory. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking time of year, like December. Not many people would choose to go to the UK in December.
No, exactly.
It's not like you've got Canadian winter temperatures, but it doesn't need to be. Like, as soon as it's below zero, it's so damp there.
No, exactly.
Everything's frozen.
People were surprised to see me also, and also the thing is it's dark by like 4 p.m.
Very. Is the Netherlands the same that way? Like,
Yeah, similar, but I guess for us it gets like dark at 5, so it was even like I guess it's because of the time difference.
oh, it is sort of a bit, yeah, those short days, I never get used to them
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
Oh, conversely, they have really nice long summers.
yeah.
Maybe you need to go back one day in summer just to have the different
Oh
experience
yeah, yeah,
because it would be totally different.
yeah, for sure.
So you did that. I'm putting a timeline together now, Jippe. That would have been December 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And so when did you take off on this journey?
This journey I took off at the end of May.
Wow. Okay. So 5 months. What were you busy doing? Are you someone who puts together a plan, gets into the deep details about exactly where you're going to go, sees all these places and go, I want to go here, I want to see that, I need to go to this place? Or are you someone who goes, well, let's see where we go?
Exactly, that second one. I just needed to have some savings. So I actually, when I went to the UK, I didn't even have a job yet. I just still had some money from like my student loan, and so then when I came back, I needed to work. So I was like, okay, what can I do for like? It's just I want to go as soon as possible, like just a few months. So I found a job delivering groceries. That was actually quite a nice job for that time. So yeah, that's what I spent doing. Then also in the meantime, I did the Camino.
In the meantime, saving your money and getting excited for this trip? Because I have to say, it's a question I guess asked so often, especially when I release an episode and when I'm promoting it, the amount of people that will come back and say, oh, how do people afford to take these journeys? And often the answer is they save up before they go.
Yeah, that's the answer. And also the second part of that answer is you just keep your expenses really, really low.
Mm.
I didn't spend much money on the trip.
No, and you were wild camping quite a lot of the time,
Yeah,
yeah, unless you were staying. I'm imagining the way that your route went that you were invited in to stay at places as well.
it was basically either free camping or staying at people's homes. Yeah, in Europe, I would sometimes arrange with people like through couch surfing or warm showers. And also in Germany, I actually knew some people, also in Poland, that I went to visit. And yeah, then the Balkans, it was really a lot of wild camping because it's easy there. Nobody cares. In Western Europe, you have to be like hiding a little bit more because there's rules and stuff. And then yeah, because I already stayed with quite some people in Europe, but then it really just took off from Turkey onwards. I was staying with lots of people, especially from Eastern Turkey onwards, because then it feels like you really get into the East and like the people change, like the hospitality like
I've
changes.
been told that before as well. In fact, I think it was Madeline Hoffman. She did an incredible journey.
Right.
Germany to Turkey was the original adventure, and then she ended up riding her way back to Australia. But she told me with Turkey that the further east you get, even the hospitality just goes exponentially through the roof.
Yeah, I felt like because reaching Turkey was a big milestone because it then kind of feels like okay, now I'm getting to like the Middle East, like almost, or like yeah, and you get into the Muslim world, although that was already bits of it in the Balkans too. It's Balkans is a bit of a mix, but then actually looking back, Western Turkey is still like the Western world, I feel. And then when you go into when you cross into like Eastern Turkey, like at some point it starts really feeling like okay, now I'm in a different like world.
Yeah, okay. Where do you think that happens? Like where did you really notice that this is very different? Like, because I imagine on the road day to day it's sort of a gradual shift and you probably don't see it as starkly, but reflecting back now, where do you think that happened? Hi listeners, are you looking for where your next bike adventure is going to take you? Well, I really hope that you're considering joining me on my first ever Seek Travel Ride lightweight bikepacking tour. Leaving on the 28th of June, we start and finish in the awesome French city of Toulouse. We have 5 days of riding, 6 nights of hotel stays, and all your meals are fully catered for. I am one of your ride leaders and I'll be giving you some insights into everything that we're going to be seeing along the way on some of the most dreamiest roads in the foothills of the French Pyrenees. To find out more, head to seektravelride.com or check out the link in the show notes through your podcast player app. And if this is something you'd be interested, or maybe you've got a friend who you think could be interested in it, feel free to share that to them as well. I'd love you to be part of my riding crew and join me for what I'm fairly certain is going to be an awesome, fun experience. Okay, now back to the episode.
I think for me it kind of happened between I was in the city Kayseri and then I rode down to Gaziantep, and I think that's where it kind of changed because I had to cross some mountains, and then like the Gaziantep, like people are very hospitable, and then I mean they're hospitable everywhere, but then from there it started to happen more that I would just spontaneously get invited. Yeah, and I think it very much also, well, not exactly, but it kind of like coincides with also the Kurdish regions. Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, especially when you think of Turkey, it's a massive country.
Yeah.
It makes sense that that each region has its different ways within a culture as well. So that makes sense.
Mm.
But I need to wind you back, Jippe, because we've fast forwarded so much of your journey, and I want to know what the early weeks were like in Europe. You know, especially someone I can appreciate that, especially taking a bike tour through the UK in December, there's a certain element of grim there that you've readied yourself for. But what was it like for the first few weeks through Europe? So, you know, getting into Germany and then also, you know, places like Poland and the Balkans. Like, what was it like finding your rhythm on that part?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, the first few days, or the first weeks, I guess, it was just a lot of cycling, camping, cycling, camping, cycling, camping. And so after like a couple of days of this, I started to think like, is this going to be what this whole year is going to be about? Like, am I just going to be alone on a bicycle and like camp in random places and then keep going?
It certainly wasn't the intentions for this tour. Like I mentioned in the intro, this tour was taken to find, you know, to help and find connections and common ground with people all over the place. So feeling like you're on your own, just cycling from one place to a random wild camping spot isn't fulfilling the brief.
And also, I think I was kind of comparing it to when I had gone on a big trip before. So when I was 19, I went on a backpacking trip. And then you just meet so many people, like you meet other travelers, like you go to hostels and stuff. So in my mind, I was like, okay, traveling on your own, you just meet a lot of people along the way. And I hadn't realized that when you're on a bicycle and you're just crossing the countryside, you're not gonna just simply run into another cyclist, you know, that's also on a trip like this.
No. Although, did you come across, you would have passed some bike travellers, but not necessarily going the same way as you maybe? Like, did you actually see many bike travellers through Europe?
Not many at first. Actually, yeah, the first guy that I met, this was on a campsite close to Münster, and he was an Austrian guy. He was retired. He was in his 70s. He looked like 40. He was his name was Christian. He was going up to the North Cape.
Go Christian.
Yeah. So I had breakfast with him one morning before we both went off. So then I was really happy to meet another cyclist. But also in Europe, I was kind of navigating my own way. My friends, they had given me like a small navigation device, and so you're not necessarily on routes that everyone takes.
Yeah.
Because this started to happen more like in Central Europe. Actually, in Germany, close to Berlin, it happened for the first time that I rode on like a European cycling route, like the Eurovelo.
Which one were you on there, I wonder?
Yeah, the one that I was on then was, I think, was the number one.
Eurovelo 1. Okay, yep.
So it was going through Berlin. I'm pretty sure I don't, but it was just a short time, and then a bit later in Czech Republic, I kind of accidentally got onto the Eurovelo 9. So I didn't really know. I hadn't really researched the Eurovelos, so it was just kind of like by coincidence, and I saw like, oh hey, I'm on a like a marked route. So I looked it up, and then it was for a while because then I was going from Brno in Czech Republic down to Vienna. So oh hey, this one is going all the way there, so that's great. I can turn off my navigation and I can just follow it. So then that was also the first time that I kind of ran into people that I could cycle with for one afternoon, basically, two Polish guys. But then, yeah, then this started to happen more that I would, meet people.
Because you shared some part of your journey with other people as well, didn't you? Like there were times where you were traveling not just on your own.
Yeah, actually, in the end, quite a lot. So in the beginning, I was mostly alone, and then I met these Polish guys going to Vienna, which really helped me through that day. But it was just one day. Then from Vienna to Bratislava, well, close to the Slovakian border, I met a girl, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Yeah, hello, if you're listening. She was on like a few weeks trip in Europe, so we teamed up for like 5 days to go to Budapest, which was her destination.
How was it teaming up with people? Like, were you really excited to be able to do that? Like you mentioned before, you had this envisioned, like from your backpacking days, that you would see people. So,
Yeah, I was definitely excited. I mean, I wanted to start this trip on my own because it was kind of like also my trip. Yeah, I feel like if I would have started with a friend, you like either have to write it out with till the end, or it's maybe then a bit strange to like split up or so. But I was definitely looking forward to meet people that I could share some time with. So I was really excited when that happened because at first it was just not happening, and I kind of thought to myself, oh, maybe that's just not really how it works. I think I even contacted you.
you did. I remember that was the first time we contacted each other. I think you were asking about route information. I think did I get you onto the WhatsApp groups or something?
Yeah, I asked like, hey, do you know how cyclists find each other?
Hmm.
Because I had seen, online people that, ride together. And then I thought to myself, oh, or is this like kind of like all prearranged? Because in my mind, it was like, oh, you just run into them. But so then, you sent me some WhatsApp groups. So that helped me out.
Yeah, and hot tip to people, like they do exist. And the way to get into them is to be invited into them by someone who's already in them or knows them. So, and they're so full as well. Like,
Yeah.
if you are in them and then you finish your journey, you sort of need to get out of them so other people can get in them again, I think is the way it works as
Yeah.
well. That would have been great as well to be able to share experiences for parts of the journey too.
Yeah.
It's something I've mentioned before on the show because many guests have mentioned it to me. One of the downsides of solo travel is sometimes you experience things that you want to share, but you don't have anyone to share it with. So did you find that as well?
I did. Yeah. Actually, when I was in Bosnia, I had like, first I had some really low days when I was in Sarajevo. But then in the city, I had met a couple, and because they had big bikes with all the gear. So I was like, hey, I need to talk to these people. So they were really nice. Jeremy and Katrin, hello, if you're listening.
Hello.
They were climbers, so they would cycle through the Balkans, but they would just find climbing spots in the mountains and just camp up there for some weeks. So they were like, oh yeah, we're going up into the mountains. You can join if you want. So I joined them. So nice time in the mountains.
Yeah, did you go climbing?
We went climbing. Yeah, that was great. It was a nice little break of cycling as well.
Yeah. The thing I was just thinking as well, yeah, but it's the sort of experience that you could say yes to because you hadn't overly planned an itinerary and a route. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And also when I was in Bosnia, I kind of wanted to slow down to take it up more because in Central Europe, I had done a lot of long distances and long races cycling. So, and then a few countries I just really passed through in a few days. And I thought to myself, okay, now I'm in the Balkans. This is a really new territory for me and something I had been looking forward, especially also Bosnia and with the history, the war and stuff. And I wanted to learn all about it, like speak to the people. And so I wanted to slow down. But yeah, what I was going to say is then up in the mountains when I was with them, at some point, a guy comes cycling up with a big gear on the bike. So we were like, oh, it's not a cyclist. Let's go talk to him. So then it turned out this was Niels from Germany, who was also going, well, to Iran. That was the first thing he said to me, and his idea was to maybe even keep going.
Wow. Did he keep going?
Well, I think due to personal situations, he came back recently. But we teamed up for a while. So yeah, we started from there. We said like, okay, let's go to Kosovo together, to Pristina, and then we kept on going even further to Bulgaria. And then later on in the trip, I teamed up with him again in Kurdistan, Iraq. So that was great. That's a great friend that I made on the trip, which is also, yeah, super one valuable thing about this trip, just the people you do meet. And then also there was a lady, Birgit. Hi, Birgit.
Hello. We're going to say hello to a lot of people, I feel.
Yeah. I cycled with her for 2 months, actually. That was quite a long time.
Yeah, that's a long, long time.
Yeah, I met her through this WhatsApp group.
Oh, brilliant. I'll take full responsibility.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I was still in Germany at that time. I was like, hey, I'm close to Berlin, and this is my plan. I want to cycle east. Is there anyone else here, And then she reached out and she was like, yeah, I'll do that route, but later. But you can come and stay at my place if you want. So she basically lived at the border between Germany and Poland. So like, oh, that's great. I can meet another cyclist, and she's gonna do the same. So maybe later on we can meet. So I stayed with her for one night, and then later on in Turkey we teamed up. So that was great.
And like you said, the people that you meet, like there's a certain element of fast friendships get formed and made as well.
Yeah.
I guess there's an element that not everyone you meet you're going to connect with enough to want to keep travelling with as well. Were there cases where that was the case as well, or not so much?
Not so much.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there was also, it's a bit of a balance. Sometimes you want to travel with some other one, and sometimes you want to be on your own, because it's also kind of either you're 24/7 with a person or you're alone. Like,
yeah, there's no in between, is there?
Well, except of course when you're alone, you can also stay at people's places and stuff like that. You do like interact with people for short periods of time. Yeah.
If you had to choose to do another tour again, would you choose to go on your own or choose to ride with someone else?
I thought about this actually on my trip, and I kind of thought to myself, maybe I would like to go with a partner next time. Yeah, could be. Like a girlfriend or something. That could be really nice. Someone who is into this kind of stuff and really, share this experience. Because I feel like for this one, I really wanted to go on my own. Yeah, I know. Because sometimes I feel like, you kind of, sometimes I feel like you learn more, or you're like more immersed, and because you totally have to do everything on your own. But now I also kind of felt like, okay, now I've had this experience. I've done it before also. And sometimes there was just also the kind of struggle that you don't have so much when you're with someone else.
It's that emotional struggle sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I would meet like couples that were cycling together for months, for like the whole trip together. And I would kind of sometimes think to myself, hey, you have it easy, even though that's maybe not fair to say, because I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, I think everyone's different, Jippe. It's funny, like the majority of my bike travel has been done with my husband, and I always think we're both a fortunate couple because we both love it.
Yeah.
My husband's my best friend, that's why I married him, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we legitimately enjoy each other's company as well. So we're not the sort of couple that rides together and has fights. I have interviewed couples have been quite frank and said, and in fact, early on in the podcast, Arev and Matthias, hello, awesome people battling through the winds, the headwind in the Sahara at the moment, brutal. But, they were saying, it is a strain, like you do fight sometimes. And so Not everyone has it smooth, I guess.
No, there's always a lot of things like obstacles. Doesn't matter if you're alone or with two people.
Yeah, I think you're more likely, apparently, to meet strangers if you're on your own. Like strangers approach people that are on their own more than they would a couple. that might be dependent on countries. It could be that, if you're a couple in certain countries, you're going to get approached regardless. But I have heard that you're more approachable when you travel solo.
I think so.
In your experience, did you find that?
I think, I don't know if it's you get more approached more. I also kind of feel like you approach more people because you kind of have to.
Yeah, okay.
Like you need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like, because when you're two people, you can also just be, the two of you, and you have someone, and yeah. And I feel like on your own, yeah, sometimes you need to be a little bit more, okay, I need to approach someone or I need to, yeah.
I want to take you to the Balkans because you mentioned that was an area of Europe that you were particularly excited to be in. And I want to talk about those sides of your experience more than the moving, cycling, going from place to place. Like when you were in places that you did want to discover a bit more and learn a bit more, what was that part of your experience like?
Yeah, I really was so excited for the Balkans because, first of all, was the first area I had never been to before. From there on, I had not been to any of the places. And also, it's such a complex region and it has such a history also very recently. I knew some about that, but I just really wanted to see that for myself and talk to the people and learn more about it. Yeah, I mean, they had wars in the 90s still, so there's still areas with landmines in Bosnia. Like when we were in the mountains, we heard them go off in the morning. They would clear it. Like still 30 years later, they're still clearing landmines.
It's horrendous.
Yeah, yeah, just the complexity of these different peoples living in the same area, and yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. I wanted to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also something you specifically were seeking out as well. Like you were seeking out
Yeah.
this type of learning. And I wonder, Jippe, if you were to think of your tour, how much of it was about travel and how much was it about, the word education is the wrong word to you, but how much of it was it about curiosity and intrigue to learn about where you were going through?
Yeah, I think a big part of it. Yeah, it's just also adventure. But yeah, really, I'm just very curious to learn about the world. And I love history and international politics. It's what I studied. That fascinates me. And so I just really wanted to go like see like locally, like because this geopolitics, it's all like it's kind of like you read it, it's a little bit theoretical, and it's never about the ordinary people. This is also the thing about like the Middle East. People have a kind of here in the West, they have kind of like a sometimes negative idea about it, or they don't really know what it is. It's all just one thing. It's just Middle East, and it's associated with like war, sand, repression, radicalism. And I kind of thought to myself, hey, that's so unfair. Like we never, because always when we hear on the news something about Iran or, Iraq, it's something bad that has happened. And it's always political. And, our political system doesn't like that system. So it can hardly ever be something positive. Whereas we never hear from the ordinary people. And this is kind of what I wanted to experience. Also because I had heard from other people that, for example, people in Iran, they're like super friendly and hospitable. And this I wanted to see for myself, and I also wanted to write about it.
Share your experiences as well.
Exactly. Put out there also a different narrative of that region.
Can I ask, because it's intriguing for me, you know how you were saying, international politics, that type of stuff, that's what you studied.
Mm-hmm.
When you're studying about the Middle East, are you studying about these narratives that we're all hearing, or do the studies go a little bit deeper than that?
Well, I mean, it's a lot about, the governments and stuff. It's like, for example, before the Ayatollahs, you had the Shah in Iran. So then it's like, oh, it's an ally of the West. And then you have the revolution in 79, and now it's the Islamic Republic, and now they're like very anti-Western. So that's then kind of what you know, like what you hear. But it doesn't really say much about how the people have all the people now also suddenly changed their opinion or something, or like
Yeah, that's always struck me as well when when a radical new type of government comes in. How have the people been? But often the people, well, I guess we could go really deep down the rabbit holes of this, but often the people there haven't really had a say in the governments before or after anyway. So
yeah, definitely. And in Iran, this was very, very apparent. I don't know. I told myself getting to Iran, I would just not talk about politics because I had had a lot of conversations with people in other countries also about the political situations there. And just, I really said to myself, okay, in Iran, don't talk about this because it might get you into trouble, you know?
Yeah, or others into trouble as well. That's something that's come up
Exactly.
with other travelers too. Like there is
Definitely.
the opportunity that unfortunately through someone's kindness that you could actually put them in danger from doing it too.
100%. Yeah. But then what I found is that it was unavoidable, that people would just come to me and they would see like a Westerner and they would see me as like a safe person to tell their opinions. And it turned like so many people I met, like basically all of them, they are so fed up with the government. And so I then kind of had to like sometimes figure out like, okay, do I feel comfortable like talking about this with this person? So sometimes I kind of like just like didn't really join in the conversation. But then when I had like gotten to know someone a bit better, then often also I felt I could safely have this discussion.
I guess there would always be that doubt in your mind too. Like, who am I discussing this with?
Yeah,
Is this fine? Are they being curious? And then there would be is this the government? Like, sorry, I'm putting my thoughts, not your thoughts here,
yeah,
but that's what I would be thinking.
no, definitely. You do have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But also you get a feel for people, and so there was definitely people that I really felt very comfortable talking about these things with.
And I imagine, Yippee, how we were talking earlier about the bike travelers that you met along the way and, their friendships that you've made. I imagine there's people that you've met in countries that you were talking about, through the Balkans, through Turkey, through Iran,
Hmm.
those sort of places. Have you stayed in touch with people that you've met as well? Like, is that a case? Like, have you formed friendships with those people too?
Yes, yeah, I have. Yeah, there's one guy in Bosnia, Elmir is his name, in Tuzla.
Should we say hello to him as well? Hello, Elmir.
Yeah, hey Elmir. That day, well, I was in that city and I was kind of like thinking, oh, maybe I could take a rest day, but I didn't really have a very nice place to stay there. It was just, I rented the like cheapest sort of like room that I could find. There were no hostels or anything. So then I kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I want to stay here another night. So then I was like, oh, okay, there's a lake is close by, so I can just maybe have a very short day, like, and just camp next to the lake. But then next to the supermarket, when I had bought some like breakfast and stuff, then he approached me because he saw my bike and so he was curious. So we started talking, and we immediately had a very good click actually. So we decided to just hang out that day. I was like, yeah, I don't really have any plans today, and so we hung out. And then also he explained me a lot about the war in Bosnia because I told him I was curious to learn more about that. And then that evening, he took me to a place that he knew because he said, "Yeah, don't go to the lake that you were planning to go to. It was a bigger one." He said, "That's very like dirty and like you don't want to be there." He said, "There's another small lake that's a bit more hidden." And so he took me there. Like we cycled there together, and it was a tiny lake, but it's super clean. It's like yeah, he told me it was like an old mine. There's some wells underneath, so that's why it filled up with water. And he said he and his friends they kind of discovered it during the war, and it was kind of like their hideout place, a place where they could have some fun. And at that time, it was totally barren. He told me now it's like foresty around it, and now people have built their own little badges around the lake. So it was just such a coincidence because when we got there, he ran into a friend that he hadn't seen for like 10 years who had a little badge there. And then I was allowed to like pitch my tent there. So, yeah,
Again, those sort of experiences that you can't pre-plan.
yeah. And then there's also another guy in Iran, Hassan. He is also, he became a good friend of mine also.
Where was this? Sorry.
This was in Iran, in the Kurdish region.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you meet him?
I was just, I had well, I ended up in his town. I was just going to take a break there because that day and also the day before, they had gone much slower than kind of expected. Because there was like a main road, but then there was also like a different road, like kind of like between the mountains, not super like up and down, but like really remote. There wasn't much there. And I had decided like, oh, maybe I can just take that one and I'm away from the traffic, even though somebody had already recommended me to take the main road. When I got there, like it looked like a nice road, but pretty quickly it turned into like, gravel and stuff, and like you don't make any distance. Actually, that night before I had slept in like a very tiny village, like in between like the mountains, like it was like a dead end road, and there were maybe like
Really isolated.
yeah, maybe like 50 people living there, and like some houses that were like abandoned and stuff and destroyed because over the years people have moved out and moved to the city. And I had slept in the mosque there because I had met some girls that night, and they were like, "Where are you going to sleep?" I was like, "Yeah, we'll go camping." And they were like, "No, no, no, come with me. Like, we'll take you to the mosque in our town." They were insisting me to go there, and well, so there was that night. So then the next day, I had to keep on cycling this gravel path until finally I reached this town that I actually had hoped to reach already the day before. And so I just took a break there, and then some guy who was my age, he came to me speaking perfect English. Yeah, we hit it off well. So he was like, "Okay, you want to come meet a friend of mine? Like, I'm gonna chill with him. You want to come?" So I was like, "Okay, sure." And at first, I was a bit hesitant to stay because I was like, "Oh, I'm behind schedule. I wanna." By this point, it was also kind of like the end of my trip, and I felt like I didn't have so much time for Iran if I wanted to be home for Christmas. But then he convinced me to stay with him. So I stayed with him and his family for a few days. And later on in the next city, he also came to visit. So yeah, still in contact with him as well.
Yeah, and again, some lovely friendships made.
Yeah.
Do you ever think, like, the sliding doors moment, like you could have said, no, sorry, I don't have time and gone on, and this friendship wouldn't be there. Like, it would be totally
Yeah,
different.
definitely. Yeah.
Something I want to talk about with you, Jippe, is the physical side of touring these type of distances as well. There's an emotional, mental load that comes in, day out, which we've sort of spoken a bit about. But there's also a physical load as well. And like where your body breaks or your bike breaks,
Yeah.
or you're in terrain that maybe you're not as enthusiastic about, but you're going to be going through that for a while. What was that like to sort of endure and deal with as well?
Yeah. I mean, I feel physically, I was personally, I was, I've always loved doing sports. I had, a base level of fitness, but at the beginning, I definitely noticed that I couldn't cycle as long distances yet. But this then came over time. Like it actually, you get that pretty quickly, I feel. Yeah, so that was okay. I mean, I've had problems with the bike for sure. Like,
Equipment failure.
yeah, at some point my frame even broke.
Oh, where?
Yeah, it's like at the back wheel, like the frame like comes together.
Yeah, like at the chain stays or the seat stay. Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there like it broke. I didn't even carry any load at that time because my stuff was at the campsite. This was in Sarajevo. I was at a campsite just outside the city, and then I had wanted to go see the sunset on top of the hill.
Always a good decision to make.
Yeah, always a good decision. But I was kind of late. Also, I had drunk some beers and I hadn't had dinner, but I had to really push up like super hard on this road. And at that time, I was kind of like going through some hard days also. And I was also kind of thinking to myself, like, come on, man, you need to take care of yourself. Like, you haven't had dinner, like, you drank some beer, like, come on, what are you doing? And now you're like almost too late for the sunset. Like, you can't even like take your time to get there.
You're giving yourself a pep talk, yeah.
Exactly. And then what happened then is suddenly my back wheels just starts wobbling. And I'm like, what's going on? I thought I probably have like a wobble in the wheel or something. So then, but when I turned around the bike to like check it, the wheel was straight. So I couldn't figure out what it was. And then only later, when I was back at the campsite, I realized that the frame had kind of, snapped.
Oh, my goodness. Was it a steel frame? Like, were you able to get it welded back
Yeah,
together?
it was a steel frame. So at first I was like, oh, this is a big problem. Like the frame, that's the base part of the bicycle.
Listeners, if you're into adventure cycling, bikepacking, or just love hearing the kinds of stories that we're featuring on the podcast, then you need to come to Beyond the Bike. It's a live event I'm co-hosting in London on the 14th and 15th of May at Peckham Levels. Each night we've got an amazing lineup of riders, ultracyclists, round-the-world adventurers, filmmakers and storytellers, plus exclusive film screenings, audience Q&As and even a gear giveaway from Old Man Mountain. It's 2 nights of everything you love about bike adventures, off the screen and in real life. Tickets are on sale now via Eventbrite. Just search for Beyond the Bike or head into your podcast player app and hit the link in the show notes. Get your tickets, join me, come and say hello. Now let's get back to the episode. You know, you could get really philosophical about this, Jippe. You know what you could do? You could say, you know, that was the day and I was talking to myself, I was like giving myself the pep talk and the bike broke and then I fixed it and I changed. Like, you could, that's the Hollywood story.
Yeah. I also I broke my phone that day also.
Oh, wow. That was a bad day.
Yeah, because I had some just bad days because I was in Sarajevo, but not really. I was like on this campsite, which was on warm showers and it was like meant for cyclists. So I was kind of hoping to meet other people there, but there were no other people. And then, I don't know, I just had some like days of feeling a bit homesick and stuff. And so then when I had cycled up this hill and like was just in time with the sunrise and then about to take a picture, then my camera wouldn't turn on and it was just too much. So I smashed my phone onto the ground, which normally, like, I was so disappointed in myself because normally I'm not that kind of person, you know.
You were really at your end, weren't you? You were really battling yourself. What do you think caused you to be in that sort of frame of mind? Like you were saying you were struggling and you had some bad days. Like, was it the loneliness at that stage? Like you said you were homesick as well?
I think I was at that time a bit lonely, and that's also because I was in the city. I think for me, ultimately, I mean, I enjoy cities also, but cities were always nice points on the map to navigate to. And actually, I had been super curious about Sarajevo. This in the end, I'm a little bit like, oh, I wish I could have been in a better state of mind to like experience it more. But yes, being alone in a city, I feel like you feel more alone. Like being alone in nature can be really nice.
But if you're alone in a city, you feel like you shouldn't be because like there's people everywhere, but you're still alone.
Yeah, it makes you feel more alone. Yeah. It was just a bit strange. Yeah. So then, I mean, I broke my phone, I broke my frame. So I had to get the frame welded. So I did that the next morning. I had to go down the hill and there was like a local like a car mechanic there. So I had talked to the guy from the campsite, like the owner, because he's Bosnian. So he was like, yeah, you can come to this mechanic over there. It's like 5 kilometers and it will be close to his work. And he could like come to like explain the situation and make sure that they do like a proper job. Like he was trying to help me. But then I ended up at this other one, which was like directly down the hill because I didn't feel comfortable going 5 kilometers because I was like with the broken frame. I don't know if it's good for the bike. You know, it's probably going to bend the metal or like, you know.
Yeah.
So I ended up at this one. And so I called him like, hey, can you talk to these people? And then he also told me on the phone, I'm not sure, man. You can do it, but I can't guarantee they do a good job. But at that point, you're also like, you don't have any control over the situation anymore because you like show up with your bike and you like point to the crack and they're like, sure, yeah, we'll do it.
No worries, mate. She'll be right.
And yeah, also Bosnians, they're master improvisers.
I guess they've had to be.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't really feel comfortable about the welding job that they had done.
Did you end up getting it re-welded?
Yeah, I got it re-welded some days later. So it was enough for me that day because then that was the day I went up to the mountains to meet those other people. And that was like the turning point where when I was feeling good again, actually, those mountains, it's one of the best memories I have actually.
Do you know the name of that area, like the mountain range? Like, so this is near Sarajevo, is it? Or
Yeah, Sarajevo, and then there's a road to the north. There's a town. It's called Nahorevo, and that was the last town. Then you go up into the mountain.
wow, sounds mega. You'll totally have to send me photos from that part.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see them. I live for the mountains, Jippe.
Yeah, there was actually that's also an area where you can do rock climbing. So that's why these guys that I had met, they were going there. And there's also this a big waterfall, like 100-meter tall waterfall. So it's one of the largest ones in Europe. But because it was summer, there wasn't much water. So no, it was really nice to just hike around there. Like one night, we even took just our mats and sleeping bags and went to like I guess not the summit, but on top of a big rock, which is kind of like, also like a summit with like a big view and stuff. And we just slept up there under the stars.
Oh, they're the mega moments. They're the mega moments
Yeah,
that I always dream about when I'm out. Because, like you, Yipper, I can tolerate cities, but that's not where I'm at my best. I love being outdoors. I love seeking out nature, especially mountain environments. And so they're the type of places that I really feel energized by.
yeah.
Sounds like you are the same. Did you rock climb as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, with them. It was such a nice opportunity because they had all the gear and the experience, and yeah, I just joined them.
How cool.
I had to wear my hiking shoes because I couldn't fit their climbing shoes. My hiking shoes have some scars on
I
them
was going to
now.
say they get some holes in them.
Yeah, but it was
It was worth it, though, by the sounds of it, for sure.
yeah.
Are there places that you would? Well, actually, two parts of this question. Are you the sort of person that enjoys going somewhere and then goes back to the same place?
Um, I mean, I can, but I guess mostly so far I've been trying to discover, different places, new places.
Okay, because my second part of the question was there anywhere that you went to that you would love to go to again?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, I have to go back to Iran because there's still so much I didn't see. Yeah, I mean, one of the places, actually, one of my best memories was Kurdistan, Iraq. That was a really wonderful place.
Oh, I'd like to talk about that. I interviewed a guest, well, it was actually his second podcast now on the show, David McCourt. Hi, David. And he was telling me about his experiences in Kurdistan, Iraq, but I'd love to hear yours. Because even with that recent experience, I still don't know that much about this place. What took you there?
Well, it was a little bit I hadn't planned it that way. My idea was to go through Georgia and Armenia and then down to Iran.
So through the Caucasus sort of thing, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But then at some point in Turkey, I really could feel the winter creeping close, and I was like, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to cross the Caucasus in winter. So then this idea of going through Kurdistan, Iraq, and then at some point, yeah, I was just like, okay, let's go do it. At that time, I was with Birgit, and then at some point we also met Andrea, an Italian guy. So we were then the three of us entering Kurdistan, Iraq. So then you're already in like the Kurdish region in Turkey. Yeah, I mean the Kurdish, they're people without a state, and it was nice because it was a really lovely area. Like we kind of went through the mountains. We went the northernmost route that you can take because there's fighting in the mountains. So you really sometimes also kind of have to know where to go, where not to go. But yeah, it was just beautiful in terms of nature, and then also the people they were amazing. Like yeah, we've stayed over at people's places, and there was always so much food. Like
You've hit on the part of the episode where I have to talk about food. Every fan of the show knows Bella loves food, and I have to find a way of talking about food in every episode. So you mentioned
yeah,
food. Tell me about what was the typical sort of food you were fed while you were there?
I mean, it's a lot of you have different dishes and you have bread and you can like you just eat it, bread and yeah.
Like a stew type of thing, or like rice pilafs, or like that's what I'm sort of thinking more Iranian food maybe. But was it similar to Iranian food or different?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of similar. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a lot of sitting on the floor and I really what I really loved actually was the Turkish breakfast. I couldn't get enough of it. Like
Is that like menemen?
yeah, you can have menemen, and also you normally you have like a lot of different small plates with different cheeses, different jams, honey, and then of course you have the simit.
How good is simit? Oh, I had it for the first time last year. I did not know this existed before. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice. So the Turkish breakfast. I overate a lot, I feel.
Sets you up for the day.
Yeah, because there's so many small things and it's so tasty. So you're like, oh, one more bite doesn't matter. But then you keep on taking more small bites of different things until you're like very full.
I've never eaten as many olives in my life as when I was there in
Yeah, a
Turkey
lot
at
of olives.
breakfast. Zeytin
Yeah,
and all. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, beautiful.
yeah.
I love it. And chai. You would have had Turkish chai,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah. Lots. I've had so much tea, so much chai.
Do you miss it? Like, do you have any of that now that you're back in the Netherlands? Like, do you ever go to seek that type of stuff out to take you to sort of connect you back to that time in your trip?
Well, I mean, I did buy like a little blanket in Iran, which you could use to like sit on. I've done it that I eat on the floor sometimes, just every now and then.
I like these little rituals that you display. I always remember there was a German adventurer I interviewed, Becky Wiedner. Hi, Becky. Oh God, she's a mountain bike unicyclist. Like she unicycled off road her way on the European Divide Trail. Amazing, amazing
Wow.
athlete. But Becky told me like when her adventure finished, she slept with the window open, even though it was cold, because she
Mm,
she just wanted to feel like she was still connected outside some way. And
yeah,
you talking about, purposefully eating on the floor to connect you back to your trip, that's your own little ritual that you've developed as well.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And not that I do it very often, but I did want to have this, little thing. And I do notice I drink more tea now. Yeah,
You can never have enough tea. And if you're with a Turkish person, my husband's family's from Ireland. I know a lot of tea drinkers, but I don't think I've seen people drink as much tea as those in Turkey.
yeah,
Like, what was your experience? Like, in Iran, are they drinking tea or are they drinking coffee? Like, what?
yeah, a lot of tea as well.
Yeah. And what about in Kurdistan?
Also, yeah. What I found curious at some point in Kurdistan, there was a point when people started to, like, you have like a little, like this little plate with like the cup on it. And what they would do, they pour the tea in the little cup and then drink it from the,
Oh, from the saucer. Okay.
exactly. So when actually one time I hitchhiked a little part with a truck driver in Kurdistan.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him do that for the first time, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I started noticing it around more. So I guess then I was in a little area where that was like a normal thing to do. So yeah, that was also funny how they drink tea in different ways sometimes.
I've seen how, some countries pour tea, like really from a big height. I
Yeah,
remember I worked with a lovely Sri Lankan lady, Sarah, and she used to make tea every now and then in the office for me as well. And like she'd pour from one cup to the other, to the other, to the other, and like aerate the tea. That's a bit of a tradition there as well. It's interesting the rituals we have around these type of drinks, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
How did you feel when your trip was coming to an end? Like when you were getting closer to it finishing and making the decision to return home? Like, I know I've interviewed people, Jippe, who they sort of consciously try and make the days go slow down because they don't want to reach the end. Did you find that was the case for you, or were you ready to go home?
It was a bit of both. I started to feel at some point in Turkey that my time was not endless anymore because in the beginning, when you set off on a big trip like this, you kind of feel like, yeah, the time is infinite. So then I really started to think like, okay, if I want to reach Iran and stuff, and I want to travel around Iran, I need to maybe speed up a little bit. So I've also done then some hitchhiking and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a bit of both because on the one hand, it's sad when you know that the journey has like an end to it, but also on the other hand, yeah, I had really started to appreciate home a lot. Like sometimes because yeah, sometimes it's just a struggle this trip also, and I would just sometimes really envision my home like very clearly in my head. And so I was also kind of ready at some point to come home and see my family and friends. It was a bit of both.
I imagine it would be. And I've often wondered this as well because obviously, like I said, I've interviewed a few people where there's the big struggle with coming home and finishing something because the trip that you're on has been so energizing in different ways.
Yeah.
But there are moments on the trip where I imagine you would do anything to just be back at home as well. Like, it's not always a great time on your trip. Like, it's not like every
Yeah,
day is blue sky, sunshine, rainbows, unicorns. Like, there are days where it's just not great at all, right?
definitely. Yeah, so in Istanbul, I had my birthday there, and a friend of mine came to visit. That was really cool. I've traveled a lot with him also. We've done some trips, like we've been to Russia and Ukraine, and so he came to visit. And then on my birthday, actually, well, my birthday was the day I reached Asia, so that was actually really cool.
Was that planned or was that just serendipity? Like,
Not really, no. I mean, we kind of planned it beforehand to be in Istanbul for my birthday, so yeah, in that way, yes. But then it kind of so happened that on that day,
you actually arrived, yeah.
yeah. But then later that night, my phone got stolen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that was not a nice moment because it was my new
I was
phone.
going to say, this is after you broke the phone.
Yeah, the other one I broke in
So
Bosnia.
you took this trip with three phones,
Exactly, and I tried to use the broken one a little bit, but then it just really,
bugged out.
yeah, it didn't work anymore. So then in Montenegro, I bought a new phone, which I don't like doing that kind of stuff. Actually, I don't really like technology so much, I guess. But I was like, okay, let's buy a phone. And so I really kind of looked into it, bought one that's, has a bit better camera or like, this or that. And then that one got stolen. I had it 3 weeks. So then in Turkey, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, I will just go to the store and get the cheapest one they have and just roll with it. So that's what I did. But I really, yeah, the camera was not so good, and I noticed now this thing is very slow.
Breaking a phone and then having a phone stolen, like, we use our phones for so much on these type of trips as well. And,
Yeah,
things like WhatsApp, we were talking about WhatsApp groups, like, that's off your phone.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, that would have been a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and then also I I lost access to my bank accounts basically.
Oh my gosh, of course, that's even worse.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, because that then does become a very real problem. Like you said, like
yeah,
one of it is your budget doesn't have to be very big. You don't need to be very extravagant if you're traveling this way, but not having money, like you still need some
yeah.
money.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I really, yeah, when my phone got stolen, there was also this idea like, can I just do without maybe? Like also in the Balkans, in the beginning, I hadn't bought a SIM card just because it feels more adventurous and stuff.
You mentioned you didn't like technology. Like, do you yearn to be just like offline?
Yeah,
I recently interviewed a guest, Phil Hargreaves. Hi, Phil, and he took an amazing journey in 1984, all the way to UK, to Australia, and then back again over 3 years. And it was a time before phones, before the
yeah,
internet, before Google
yeah,
Translate, before
yeah,
GPS, and it's just a different, raw type of adventure. Do you yearn to do something like that? Like, was that something that you think you could do?
kind of. I do, and I always, yeah, I always maybe I kind of sometimes idealize the past before we had all this technology because I mean it also brings a lot of nice things. But yeah, I do feel like sometimes I would like to do that, but I do feel like also yeah, the world is now different, and it is maybe now harder to go without technology than at the time when it wasn't there anyway. Because now people also expect you to have it. So I immediately yeah noticed like oh yeah my bank account, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, without a phone,
Yeah,
you're stuffed to access your money. It's not just the idea that you don't have the device so you can't access like social media or the internet or anything like that. It's the other things that go with it that are totally interlinked and connected.
yeah. I stayed with a guy, Firat, in Turkey, in Western Turkey, and he had cycled in 1985, I believe, also from Turkey to Mongolia.
Wow, what a journey he had.
Yeah, he showed us like this little, like he had like a little box, like, and very carefully he opened it and showed us his device that he used. So on the map you could like figure out distances,
Wow.
and so it was very special for him, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of respect for that. And I feel like that's like the real experience, which I feel like I would kind of like to experience too. So I came up with this idea that I would like to maybe walk the Camino, for example, and just leave my phone at home because I feel like that would also, be easy for me in a way because I would just book like a train to get there and maybe a return ticket So I have it already. And I know Spain. I've lived there, and also I speak Spanish. So at the Camino, it's like a route you just follow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't need to navigate anything.
See, the real adventure though, the real adventure, Yipper, would be to follow the Camino from Friesland.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Oh, I've just lit the eyes up.
Yeah,
Next level.
yeah.
What you could do it in reverse. You could. Are there people who do the Camino in reverse? There must be.
Maybe some.
Not many, right?
Generally, everyone walks one direction, I guess.
And it's not like with walking you have to worry about prevailing winds and stuff. I guess the Camino is about reaching Santiago de Compostela as well. Like that is the part of the Camino, isn't it?
Hmm.
Well, if you do, well, you won't be able to tell me on the way because you won't have your phone. But if you do that, you definitely need to get in touch with me. I want to know what it was like stripping it back to basics.
Yeah, and there was another idea that I had because yeah, now that I'm back, these ideas for the next, adventures start to come up, and I thought about. I know there's a trail that crosses the Pyrenees from coast to coast.
Oh, there is the GR10,
Right.
Grand Randonnée A10, GR10. Yes.
Yeah, I thought about that could also be cool to do that coast to coast, then stop at like San Sebastian when you reach like you start at the Mediterranean, go to the Atlantic, then I would stop and maybe like surf for like 2 weeks or something, and then
Yeah, that coastline is amazing for surfing as
yeah,
well, in Biarritz and
yeah,
everything too. There's actually a few trails. There's a GR10 which is on the French side, and the GR11 which is on the Spanish side, and then there's variants off it as well. Did you know that? I didn't know that until I think last year. But
okay,
yeah, there's the high route which really takes the more adventurous path. See, that's the bit that you have to do, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so there's the high route, and then there's like the normal route, and I mean, even just the normal route, you're still walking a mountain range. It's still
mm,
pretty gnarly.
yeah,
I rode it.
oh yeah,
There's a cycling route, the Raid Pyrenees. I did that, oh gosh, this summer it'll be 2 years ago. I
hmm,
have it in mind to do it in the other direction. I did it from west to east, and it's one of the
right,
best things I ever did.
nice,
It wasn't a big 8,000 kilometer journey from Netherlands to Iran, but it was a big journey for me. And like you said, there's a leaving the ocean and reaching the sea. It's a big thing, and feeling that you went up and down all the bits of the terrain. So,
yeah,
oh, it would be mega.
yeah, definitely, yeah,
Oh, I hope to see that adventure unfold for you.
yeah.
Do you feel that you got what you were seeking from this adventure?
I think so. Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. My kind of like life philosophy is I want to become the interesting grandpa.
I love that. You got the interesting stories.
When I'm an old man, the grandkids they always want to come because grandpa always has crazy stories to tell when he was young. I love experience. So people that are like experienced in their field or they have done a lot of things and a lot of stories. Like I really like respect and admire this, and I want to build this for myself too, and keep developing as a person, and and stay humble. But where was I gonna go with this? Uh,
Yeah, like has it fulfilled what you were seeking in that?
right, yeah, and in that sense, I mean, this is just one other story that I now have, and yeah, I don't know. At the moment, it's a bit strange because yeah, searching for a job and stuff, it's like I'm in a different world again, and I kind of feel like I'm with two legs in two different worlds because the one side of me is like kind of this hippie that likes to travel and be close to the nature, and I kind of like feel like I have some criticism sometimes of like society. We're not taking care of our surroundings, of the earth. There's all this increasing inequality of power and money and stuff like that, and so that part of me is kind of like wants to escape. So sometimes I'm like, maybe I just want to build a tiny house somewhere, in the mountains, close to the sea, where I can do hiking and surfing, and that's just all I do, and maybe grow my own vegetables and stuff like that. But then the other part of me is like the part that's like super interested in everything that's about the society, like history, like the politics. And I feel like we need to make some kind of change because the way we're going now, we're obviously just degrading the environment, which is ultimately going to come back to bite us. And to do this on a societal level, that's what we need. Like I can make my individual change, which I will happily do. But I kind of feel like, there's also opportunities.
You feel like there's a responsibility to influence on a broader level.
Yeah, exactly. And now I don't know, for me now I feel these two worlds, like on the one side I'm this hippie, and on the other side I'm also like this. I went to a job interview in a suit the other day, and some of my friends are like see this and like, oh, it's so like not fit, like you wearing a suit. But actually I do then also kind of enjoy that. So and yeah.
It's like a dichotomy, isn't it? It's two different halves, and
Exactly. But I realized the other day this could be a strength, these two worlds, to combine them, because what gave me a bit of difficulty in the beginning was I felt like I had to choose like one or the other. But I realized I don't have to do that, and yeah, that's a great great realization.
no, and you could use your experiences to inform greater goals for that as well, helping to shift us to a more sustainable, what would I say, sustainable society? I feel where we're headed's not sustainable.
Yeah.
The environmental degradation you speak about, it's definitely something that it worries me quite a lot more. And I make personal choices. I don't have a car in France and quite happy to not where I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a broader need across all of us in society to do things, I feel. I
Mhm.
feel where we're headed is not sustainable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pivot now. It's just gonna sound so horrendous to pivot away from something so deep, but you know how you were talking about you want to be the crazy granddad or the grandpa with the crazy stories? I want you to tell me a story, and I want you to tell me and the listeners about one day of your trip. It can be any day from any country. It could be a crazy story, it could be a normal story for a trip, but I want you to tell me about one day and take me and the listeners there. Where are you going to take us, Jippe?
One day. It's a good question, because I knew you were going to ask this. So I wrote down maybe 4 days that I thought maybe were
Ooh,
notable.
give me options and I'll choose. That's cool. I like that.
Okay, so this is technically maybe 2 days, but I was with Niels and we were going from Montenegro into Kosovo. That was a big adventure. We got like stuck on the mountain.
Oh, okay. No, you don't even need to tell me about the other days. Just go there.
Okay,
You mentioned mountains. I was hooked. Go.
so yeah, I was with Niels, and so we were in Montenegro, which is, yeah, beautiful country, mountainous. We couldn't do so many kilometers there per day. Like we were hoping to reach 50 to 80 kilometers, but often we didn't even make 40. So then at some point we were about to, like, we were getting close to Kosovo. So we had seen on Komoot that there was a route we could take to cross the mountains, because you have to cross like a mountain range to get into Kosovo. And that was like different than the main route. So, but we were like, okay, that's cool. So we go there to the town, and already when we were entering the town, I saw a road sign which had like an arrow to Peja, which is the city in Kosovo that we were aiming for, but it had been crossed through. So we were really like, oh, that's strange. And then so we heard from people, yeah, this road is closed since the Kosovo War in 1999, because it used to be one country, Yugoslavia. So that's why it was just a road within one country. But since now it's between two countries, and there's not an official border crossing, they closed the road. But then some people were saying, yeah, but you're with bicycles, so it's okay. You can just, there's, a roadblock, but you can pass it. So yeah, we decided, okay, let's just do it. Even though we kept getting, yeah, contradictory information whether it was possible or not, but we had to go back so far. Otherwise, we were like, okay, let's go. So then we go into the mountain, and we knew it was going to be a huge climb that day, like the biggest climb I had done thus far. The path just at some point starts getting steeper and steeper, and then the asphalt stops, and it's like gravel, and we have to push the bike. And I'm already like hearing some thunder in the mountains. At some point, yeah, we push the bikes up this like super steep gravel path. It was barely pushable. Like cycling would be impossible, and but already pushing it up there was already like almost not doable. So I'm already thinking, is this even possible to like cross these mountains? And then as we kind of like get up that part, then all hell breaks loose. Like the thunderstorm just hits, and it starts pouring down rain. and there's thunder like really like close by us. And so we were like, okay, not a great situation. So we put up the tarp. Niels had a tarp, so we took shelter underneath it, and we sat there for like 2.5 hours or so in this storm. And we were just kind of like also thinking, yeah, shit, like this situation is not great. By that point, we knew we were not going to make it to Kosovo, but we need to sleep somewhere. Somehow it's, at some point getting dark. When the storm died down a little bit, I went to walk up the path a little bit to check if would even be possible to go there by bike. But it really just turned into a hiking trail. Like there was no way we were going to get up there. So then, yeah, we decided, like, okay, maybe we just go down a little bit because it was about to get dark and see if at some of the houses, because we had seen some, like a few small houses up the mountain, and we were like, maybe we can see if they can let us in or like we can sleep there. So yeah, we then went down and to that first house that we encountered. So we go up to the house, and then there's like a family, like 12 people there, so they took us in, like they were all sitting on the porch. They had like a small house that they had built themselves, and yeah, multiple generations. So yeah, they welcomed us with coffee, and immediately we got like shots of rakia, like
Plum brandy, yeah.
exactly. And we got dinner, and so yeah, we were like hanging out with these people. They couldn't really speak English, so there were like two ladies that were like taking turns, like with the translator a little bit, and then there were like a bunch of guys who were just sharing universal like laughs and like slaps on the back and like communicating in that way. And that's also yeah. Also funny because at some point I made like a video and I'm like, hey, we're in Montenegro, blah blah blah, and then they shouted like Serbia, Serbia, because they were Serbs and they felt that that land should belong to Serbia. So this is also, yeah, there was like a realization, right? Yeah, the complexity of this region. And yeah, they were telling us, yeah, Kosovo, crazy people over there, like, it's our land, But yeah, so we slept there on the porch that night. So then the next morning, yeah, they also, for breakfast they treated us to some rakia again.
What a way to start the day. I always think rakia is like rocket fuel. I always think you could put it in a jet plane and it could take off.
Exactly. So then they had explained to us the other route that we should take because we had gone, yeah, basically the wrong way. There was a different road.
You went up the goat track.
Yeah, exactly. So we that the other day. So this is yeah, well, it's technically 2 days, but then we went up the other road, and indeed that was the one we should have gone because it was so much. And we could actually cycle that. It was asphalt and it was doable. So then we reached the top, and then it started pouring down, raining again. But there was like an abandoned house there because all over the Balkans there's abandoned houses. They're still left over from the war. So we went inside, cooked some lunch there. Niels is a chef actually, so we would always have nice food. And so we sheltered there for some time. Then a police car shows up, and they wanted to like check our passports. It was like the Montenegro border police.
Had you crossed the border at this point?
We hadn't crossed the border yet. It was still Montenegro, but it was on the top. So then it would just be downhill to Kosovo. And so they're like, where are you going? And we were like, yeah, we're just going down there to Kosovo. And they're like, oh, it's not possible. This road is closed. You can't go there. And so we were like, yeah, but we were like, we were on bicycles. Like it's gonna be so far to go back because yeah, we already had this contradictory information that some people said it was possible, others said it was not. So then these guys were like, okay, make a phone call. And then they were like, okay, just go. We'll just kind of do this.
Could you imagine if they'd sent you back? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. So then we went down the mountain, which was beautiful because it had just rained so much. It was like all like foggy and like super green. And so we went down. And then we arrived at the border crossing. So it was a tiny, small road. And on the Montenegrin side, it was asphalt. And then it turned into gravel. And there was like some concrete blocks just blocking it. But there was no checkpoint or anything. So we crossed and nobody stamped and nobody saw our passports. Yeah. But then going into Kosovo was also one of the most beautiful entries of a country because you enter inside a gorge.
Oh wow, it'd be spectacular.
Yeah, and it was like 20 kilometers just downhill through this gorge.
How awesome are gorge roads? They're just absolutely mega.
It was amazing. And then, I mean, at the end of it, you just arrive in the city, in Peja. It lies right at the end of this gorge. But then, yeah, we were illegal in Kosovo. We technically, we even went to ask at the police station the next day because we saw like a policewoman and we were like, oh, we might as well ask if we need to do something because our passports weren't checked. And then we got there and then there was like a whole group of police around us and they're like, oh, you're illegal. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, what did we do? We should have never come here, you know?
Was that a problem then, or was it easily resolved?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like in those countries, rules are kind of,
They're not black and white. They're a bit grey.
exactly like they're open for interpretation. They're like in Western Europe, this is the rule. This is the consequence if I break the rule.
Yeah.
But in those countries, well, first of all, it's sometimes not 100% clear what exactly the rule is. And also it depends on who you talk to and stuff. So then the first guy was like, "You're like, yeah, you're illegal." He was like, "You have to go to the border and get your passport stamped." And we were like, "Oh no, we have to go the way back, or like to a different border where there was actually a checkpoint." And then they talked to each other, and then they were like, "Oh, so where are you going? What's your plan?" And we were like, "Yeah, we want to go to Pristina, the capital, and then down to Skopje in North Macedonia and leave the country there." And then they were like, okay, well, it's summer, so it's touristy season. So, yeah, just go. It's okay.
Love that. Just the just
Yeah,
just go.
and
You'll be
it's
fine. It's summer. Blend
exactly.
in.
And then also, I asked, like, hey, but cool. But I said, will we get any problems when we leave the country?
Mm.
And they were like, can't guarantee you won't get problems, but probably not.
Did you, or you were fine?
No, not at all. We were fine. Yeah.
And now you have a cool, crazy granddad story to tell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yipper, I always love hearing these type of stories. I think sometimes it's what motivates me to continue making episodes on the podcast because every traveller has got just a crazy story eventually
Yeah,
in a journey like this. And you would have had so
yeah.
many. We've touched on a few. I'm going to provide links, listeners, to the ways that you can check out Yippe's website, and I'll also provide links to your Instagram, even though it sounds like you maybe want to disconnect from the socials potentially.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit like I didn't want to be like, look at me, what I'm doing. I wanted to be more like learning, but I did want to share that with the world.
I feel like you share your learnings and that it's different as opposed to look at me, how good I am. I went here, here, and here. You share an experience and it becomes a different story.
Right.
It becomes an opportunity for people to learn more.
And that's why I wanted to write as well and like write articles. So I posted that on my blog.
I will definitely provide links to your blog in the show notes. So, listener, if you go into the podcast player app that you're listening to this on and hit the show notes, you'll see links there and you can read all about Jippe's story. And maybe will we keep an eye on that to find out if you walk the Camino or trek across the Pyrenees?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Totally. We've said it out loud now, so it has to
Yeah,
happen.
that's it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yipper, it's time for me to wrap the show up, and I do that asking the same three questions. The first one's music related. You're a guest of the podcast. You get to choose a song to go on the Seek Travel Ride music playlist. Listeners, it's there on Spotify and Apple Music. Every song picked by a previous guest. What song is going to represent you and your bike adventure?
Yeah. I I had to think about this a little bit, but I mean, there was a lot of music I listened to along the way.
Mm.
I listened to a lot of like non-Western music, a lot of like African tunes. Like I love music from like Mali and stuff like that. Also some like Persian music, and because of course it was where I was going. But I thought I felt a little bit uncomfortable naming one of these ones because I don't know what they say.
Oh, okay. So what song are you going to choose then?
There's a song, Spirit Bird by Xavier Rudd.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, he's Australian.
That's why I've heard it.
Yeah, I saw him live actually one time in The Hague. I feel like this is kind of like this theme that was also a theme of my trip. It's like he's talking a bit about, exploitation of, people and resources, that kind of stuff. Like we need to take care of our surroundings, stuff like that.
It fits you nicely. Yeah, okay. I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Spirit Bird Xavier Rudd, you are down.
Yeah. Is it just one song or is it? Because there was another one. It's because I feel like there was also two sides of the trip a little bit. Because sometimes I needed to just have something a little bit. Because that's like the one I just named is very like wholesome, and the other side, like sometimes I needed something a bit more aggressive, like if I was a little bit struggling and had to push through, or also sometimes being going downhill a mountain and just be full of excitement and ecstasy. This song is called "Not Broken" by Girl on Fire. That's it.
All right. Well, I've got two songs for you. See, I normally only let people choose one. So, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to randomly choose one of them and you won't know which one it is.
Okay.
Listeners, it's going to be one of those
All
two. Alrighty. Jippe, next question. You have a choice to make one day. You can choose to go left, and if you do so, you have to ride on the most corrugated, bumpy, potholed, gravel tracky road ever in your life. You could go right, and you'll be on a smooth road, but you'll have a horrendous headwind to deal with the whole day long. Which one are you going to choose?
I think I'll choose the potholed road.
I wondered, a guy from the Netherlands, if anyone's used to riding in the wind, it would be you. And I was thinking maybe you'll choose the wind, but no. Okay.
That's true, but no, I guess headwind's not great. And also, yeah, sometimes these potholed roads, I'm also kind of imagining, being out somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the, nature or mountains,
It's
or
more adventurous. Okay.
it's more adventurous. Yeah.
To be fair, you could be experiencing a raging headwind in the beautiful nature of Patagonia. It's probably one of the windiest places in the world.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
see, now, mind you, and you could be on a pothole corrugated road doing that as well. Route 40 or something. Alrighty, you are team corrugations. I have you there.
Yeah.
Well, final question for you then, Jippe, and that is, I want you to finish this sentence for me. And the sentence is, the best thing about taking a bike adventure is...
The best thing about taking a bike adventure is living in the balance. Is meeting people, like seeing like a different part of life. And I feel like life's all about being balanced. And I feel like you really get these kind of insights.
I love it. The thing I love about this question is everyone has a unique answer. Sometimes there's themes, but I love this. And balance is a way that I would, that is a word that I would use to properly sum up a lot of the narrative of what you've been sharing as well. It was always almost two sides to how your travel was taking place. Whether you were riding solo or with other people, whether you were having a happy time or whether you were missing home, whether you were seeking adventure or whether you were seeking shelter. And the balance is definitely a word that I would use to sum it up. I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to you share your story. Jippe Witteveen, it has been an absolute pleasure to listen to you tell those stories. And my eyes are beaming because I'm just thinking about you being the crazy grandpa who's got the crazy stories to tell, and that this is what's driving you to keep taking adventures forevermore. Thank you so much for sharing your story and experiences here on the podcast for Seek Travel Ride.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was really happy to talk to you. It's very nice.
There we go, listeners. A thoroughly entertaining time there chatting with Jippe and talking about his incredible journey. I love how he took this journey in parts to see the reality in common people as opposed to the theory that he had been studying, and how he specifically wanted to go to places that he'd heard about really for the wrong reasons, like places like when you think about the Bosnian War in the 90s, but seeking to go out there and actually seeing what it was like for people on the ground. What about that crazy story, crossing the border or not into Kosovo, having to shelter from a mountain storm and then finding shelter with a lovely family that plies you with rakia, plum brandy. These are the type of things that happen when you take an adventure, and as I mentioned with Jippe there as well, he's well on his way to building his repertoire of crazy stories to tell forevermore, and I hope that you really enjoyed listening to this one today. Now, if you've been enjoying the podcast and you want to support me out, you can hit my Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes or head to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me a few virtual brews, but tell me, Especially if you listen to Seek Travel Ride seeking inspiration for your own bike adventures, I want you to tell me what you love about the show and what bike adventure you've got planned for yourself. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening. And before you go, don't forget, Beyond the Bike is happening soon in London on May 14 and 15. It's going to be an incredible night of stories, film, and adventure cycling insights with some of the most inspiring guests from the podcast. Tickets are available now, but they're not going to last. So head to the link in the show notes, grab yours, come to one night, or if you're a super fan, come to both. Grab your ticket before they're gone, and I hope to see you there. Before you go,